Imagine Oracle Arena's roar distilled into a single heartbeat. Now imagine it silenced by the weight of what's about to drop, as the Warriors' offseason lingers in a suspenseful deadlock that could redefine the future of the Bay. Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, where raw truths collide with splash-era passion. Smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so your heart never misses a beat, because the clock is ticking on Golden State's next chapter. And the storyline emerging now might just blow the roof off Chase Center. Right now, the free agency saga is tangled deep in a web of uncertainty. But the whispers across the league are clear. The Warriors have a preferred target, one that's stirring both hope and skepticism among Dub Nation 39-year-old Al Horford. Now, I get it. I get the mixed reactions flooding the Dubs faithful when you hear Golden State eyeing a veteran like Horford to anchor the front court. But let me tell you this, Al Horford is no relic or discount journeyman. He remains a remarkably effective, savvy player with a skill set that fits perfectly into the Warriors' system stretch 5 capabilities. Defensive versatility and veteran leadership that could stabilize a front court in flux. Anthony Slater, one of the league's most trusted insiders, has been relentless in linking Horford to the Warriors, repeatedly naming him as a key free agent target, especially after the Warriors parted ways with previous stretch bigs like Brook Lopez, now flourishing elsewhere, and Kevin Looney, who has stepped away to New Orleans. This leaves Golden State navigating the wild free agency waters largely empty-handed so far, and Horford emerges not just as a fallback, but arguably the top free agent big man option left on the board after Deandre. Ayton's availability remains stalled until the Wednesday waiver deadline. And although other suitors circle Horford like sharks, the New York Knicks just signing Gershon Yabusele, which likely pushes them out of Horford's chase, and the Denver Nuggets trading for Jonas Valanciunas to back up Nikola Jokic, signaling a diminished focus on Horford, there remains a tight race involving the Cleveland Cavaliers, who see Horford as a perfect fit beside Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, plus the Los Angeles Lakers, where the spotlight intensifies. The Lakers, thin at center and desperate for experience, had their eyes on DeAndre Ayton, but reportedly are seriously considering Horford to fill that glaring front court void, with reporters like Sam Anick and Dan Woit confirming Lakers sources, putting Horford under serious consideration. The chess match deepens knowing that the Celtics, the team where Horford built much of his legacy, including a championship run, are snapping at detritus's heels, desperate to reel him back. Though salary cap limitations and ongoing roster shuffles make a deal complicated for Boston. So, picture this. 4 or 5 teams locked in a war of attrition for a player many thought had passed his prime, yet here Horford stands, consistent and quietly excellent, cracking open NBA advanced metrics that show he has outperformed expected. Value on the floor, even against star-laden lineups like Boston's championship rotations, where Chris Porzingis was seen as an X-factor. Horford, by contrast, has been the rock, shooting nearly 40% from 3 over 4 seasons, contributing 10 points and 6 boards per game, while often playing backup minutes and maintaining his deadly clutch impact in playoff moments. Imagine the emotional tapestry, the Warriors we believe fire, the dynasty's glorious splash of 2015-19, and today's playoff scars from recent deep runs, now intersected by this veteran presence who could anchor young stars like Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, bringing leadership and skill that's desperately needed as Golden State faces yet another crossroads. But then comes the twist, the crucial domino looming over all this, the Jonathan Kuminga saga. Warriors fans aren't just watching Horford's situation unfold. They're desperately awaiting clarity on Kuminga's future. The holdup in the Warriors' free agency moves is intimately tied to whether the team can re-sign Kuminga or move him in a sign-and-trade deal that unlocks the financial flexibility needed to land players like Horford, who could come at a steep price, around $10 million per year, a figure easily inferred by comparing previous deals like Brook Lopez's $9 million or Looney's $8 million. Now, Kawakami and Mark Spears have painted a complex picture. Kuminga is a restricted free agent facing a mediocre market with sparse interest from other franchises willing to meet his high asking price, commonly believed to be north of $25 million per season. Insights from NBA insiders suggest that while Joe Lacob's love for Kuminga is genuine, describing a willingness to match any offer that comes his way, the Warriors, general manager Mike Dunleavy, and the front office are trapped between the valuation gap and balancing the team's long-term competitive window. Rumors swirl, one floating that Kuminga might ink a 3-year, $60 million deal with a player option, though many question if the Warriors can or should commit to that kind of number, especially when comparing Kuminga's current level against other young wings like Jabari Smith or Miles Turner, who both commanded similar contracts on the strength of elite, proven traits. Yet, teams like Miami and Chicago have stepped back from aggressive pursuits, while the Pelicans and Kings appear tentative, leaving Kuminga's trade market cold and the Warriors hemmed in. Barry Jackson, a top Heat insider, confirms Miami is not pressing a deal involving Kuminga or any notable trade, further illustrating the logjam. Meanwhile, Tiff Kawakami's blunt assessment that the Warriors have been shopping on the discount aisle while waiting for Kuminga to trigger the seismic shift needed to kickstart their offseason paints an image of a franchise stuck in limbo, unable to strike until this puzzle piece moves. Could it be that Golden State's entire free agency blueprint will hinge on whether Kuminga's future is settled soon, whether they bring him back or flip him for assets that redefine their roster? The stakes are enormous. How does this tension weigh on Curry, who's entered the twilight of his prime, yearning for one last title push? What about Draymond Green and Klay Thompson, whose bodies have endured years, hoping this retool accelerates their championship window before time runs out? Could a Horford signing be the stabilizing veteran presence that puts the Warriors over the edge? Or is it a sign of settling, a stopgap until younger pieces like Kuminga can break out or be moved? And if Kuminga's market remains frozen, how long will the Warriors keep pressing pause, with the entire NBA offseason rushing forward around them as teams lock in deals and build rosters for 2025 to 26? With roughly $14 million in cap space between their non-taxpayer mid-level exception and the biannual exception, Golden State is positioned to make marginal upgrades but remains financially constrained without clarity on Kuminga's status. This offseason, more than any in recent memory, feels like a crossroad packed with tension-signed Horford and gain the stretch five defender who can switch and shoot, offer invaluable veteran wisdom to the young core, and fill a critical lineup. Gap or hold firm, bet on Kuminga's upside despite market stagnation, hoping for a spark that justifies the gamble. You want to blame anyone for this stalemate? Look no further than the front office's gamble and the Joe Lacob timeline that has both handicapped and raised expectations. Tough balancing act between immediate title contention and future planning that confounds even the sharpest analysts. And as rumors swirl, darting from ESPN's Mark Spears to Anthony Slater, you start to feel the swirling storm beneath the calm surface. Time is not on the Warriors' side, with the off-season calendar marching relentlessly forward while the vast majority of NBA rosters lock into place. Will the Warriors move before the window closes, or will they be forced to watch from the sidelines, unable to solve their internal mysteries? I'll tell you straight up, there's no guarantee that Horford comes to Golden State, nor that Kuminga's future resolves smoothly. What's guaranteed is uncertainty, and with it, raw drama that grips us because this franchise's legacy hangs in the balance. As a lifelong Dub Nation believer, my pulse is racing just writing this. But is this the spark that reignites our dynasty, or the crack that fractures our legacy beyond repair? Drop your unfiltered takes in the comments. I'll be right there, heart in hand. If your blood just started boiling thinking about a last-second Steph 3 raining down under new circumstances, drop your hottest takes below, because we're about to peel back the layers on a Warriors off-season drama that's throttle wide, open, and trust me, Dub Nation. The suspense isn't just high, it's nuclear. We've talked about Al Horford circling Chase Center like an unspoken secret weapon, the enigmatic Jonathan Kuminga tug-of-war that's grinding the Warriors' all-season gears to a near halt. And yet here we stand, engulfed in a whirlwind where every chess move by the front office feels like a high-stakes bet on either flame or fracture. The real question now isn't just who we sign or who we trade. It's what kind of Warriors emerge from these summer shadows. Imagine this. Steph Curry, that transcendent magician still averaging over 30 a night, pushing 35-plus when the game's on the line. A man-defying father time with that indomitable spirit and shot-making nirvana, but wrapped in a roster that's equal parts mystery and hope. Can this mid-30s superstar shoulder one last legendary run if the supporting pieces don't fall exactly right? The Warriors' wings and frontcourt, Wiggins, Moody, Kuminga, and Podziemski, are all players who oscillate between flashes of brilliance and bouts of inconsistency. Wiggins, coming off a season where he put up solid 20-7 numbers, but still left us yearning for that 2019 defensive stopper and slasher explosiveness, represents a sliver of stability, yet the man carries the weight of scoring and defending in a way the team desperately needs to sustain. Moses Moody, the young gun with a lightning-quick release and defensive potential that reminds us all of what the Warriors seek from their potential franchise wings, has been tantalizing, but not yet dominant enough to take a full leap. Podziemski's playoff snapshots show glimpses of stretch shooting brilliance, but can he become the reliable third or fourth weapon Kerr demands in crunch time? And of course, Kuminga blessed with staggering raw tools, now at the crossroads of a lucrative contract and the Warriors' shifting valuation of his long-term fit. He's a wild card with high upside but fragile consistency. Can the front office hammer down a deal that balances his salary expectations with the blueprint Kerr wants to execute? Because every extra dollar spent on Kuminga tightens the noose on marquee veterans like Horford or blocks moves for depth bench options that Grant and Kerr swear by when punch clock pressure mounts during grueling playoff runs. Somewhere in this chaos, Draymond Green stands as the emotional and tactical bedrock. His triple-double mediocrity no longer the consistent spectacle it once was, but his leadership and defensive IQ remain vital, inching toward the twilight of a career that's already darn near legendary. The question whispers through locker rooms, does Green still have the gas to steer this crew through brutal playoff trenches? And Klay Thompson, that warrior returning from devastating injuries, a man whose 2022 Game 6 return showed us a flicker of the pre-KD dynasty Klay, who could torch even the toughest defenses in a heartbeat, still faces the crucible of durability and rhythm. What if these pieces fail to align just right? The West has morphed into a brutal laboratory of contending heavyweight matchups. Suns revving with Devin Booker's sharpshooting and Kevin Durant's lethal midrange. Nuggets doubling down on Nikola Jokic's MVP brilliance paired with fresh acquisitions like Valanciunas, and the Lakers, ever the dark horse, gangling their big spend to assemble a bruising but aging roster desperately chasing chemistry. Not to mention the Oklahoma City Thunder laying groundwork for a surprise fast-track rebuild. And the Mavericks, Luka Doncic dictating terms with ceiling-breaking talent as they stalk late postseason runs. This isn't merely about Golden State keeping pace. It's about figuring out if these fractured, talented, complex puzzle pieces will click in Kerr's mind or just rattle and fall apart under the weight of too many expectations and too few certainties. From 5 straight NBA Finals appearances that once defined a dynasty, to now, staring at a somewhat depleted yet hopeful roster at a critical juncture, what do we do if Al Horford, that savvy veteran, doesn't materialize? Do we trust the youth movement to carry the legacy forward, betting our last chips on Kuminga's talent and Moody's potential to mold into vital cogs in Kerr's machine? Or is Horford the linchpin, the final stabilizing force needed to transform defensive schemes and clutch minutes, providing the kind of veteran savvy that's desperately lacking? And what if locking Horford's $10 million commitment means squeezing the payroll so tight it gives the bench zero wiggle room, leaving a one-and-done feel to minimal role players without the proper surround sound support for Curry and Green? Could that tip the balance, disrupting the fragile chemistry of the core? Or do we see Horford's quiet leadership as the paramedics stitching together wounds caused by injuries and roster churn? There's whispers swirling about how Joe, Lakers' timeline aiming to capitalize on this narrowing championship window, may have forced the front office's hand, pushing the team to hedge bets on vets over long-shot youth, but also shackling flexibility to pivot when Kuminga stalls and the trade market remains tepid. It's a grueling pressure cooker scenario because every delayed move risks watching the new generation of stars and potential dynasty-ending acquisitions land across the league while Golden State stands frozen, waiting for a signal that might never come. I mean, think about it, Steph's shooting percentage from deep dip marginally last year with higher low minutes. A signal maybe of the cumulative toll, and with the league trending younger, faster, and deeper, the possibility that this iteration of the Warriors contends against the revitalized Suns or the relentless Nuggets suddenly feels more like a heroic uphill climb than the supremely confident march we once witnessed. The uncertainty gnaws on the locker room vibe. Will Clay and Draymond rally fully behind a front office that's come under critique for being too cautious, too slow? Will Steph, the ultimate competitor, buy into a roster that might feel stacked with vet stopgaps instead of feel-good breakout stars? Could this offseason shape up like the slow drip of a delicate chemistry experiment about to crystallize into a slam dunk or spiral into the unraveling of a dynasty's final act? Now, add the tension of the next draft and retention decisions. Waiting in the wings, what if a surprise rookie, selected in the 2024 NBA Draft, suddenly morphs into a rotation changer who reshapes everything Kerr thought he could engineer? And what if that player doesn't fit into current schemes, forcing an identity overhaul that either reboots the Warriors' way or fractures the very foundations of a culture built on splash, movement, and unselfish basketball? This is the moment when history echoes loudest, from the shockwaves of "We Believe" to the pinnacle of a KD-fueled juggernaut. From Clay's gritty comeback Game 6 explosion, reminding us all that miracles can still bloom in adversity, to now when hope, doubt, fear, and faith coalesce into a perfect storm over Golden State's next moves. As someone who screamed along with the old Oracle crowd, cried through Clay's silent agonies, and still believes Steph's jaw-dropping craft can bend time itself, I'm telling you right now, this volatile crossroads could ignite a new golden chapter for us, or usher in a bitter reckoning that tests even the fiercest allegiance. But Dub Nation, no matter how this saga twists and turns, your voice, your passion, your fiery takes count more than ever. So, now it's your arena. Tell me, right here and right now, where does this fractured saga land in your soul? Bold honesty. Only because whether this is redemption's dawn or the start of the storm, I'm in the trenches with you, every heart-pounding moment of it.